Hi, I'm Andre Huey, and welcome to this special SK Newsline interview. We're speaking with representatives of Ecco, that's the Eastern Caribbean collective organization for music rights. And they have been in the news recently due to what appears to be a spat between them and the Attorney General's office. A release was issued some time ago, some days ago, indicating that they were not authorized to perform any work in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we wanted to get to the bottom of this. So we have these two representatives here from Ecco to speak with us. We have Mr. Martin James. He is the CEO of Ecco, based in St. Lucia. And we have the local agent for Ecco here in St. Kitts Nevis, Grace Richardson. Gentlemen and lady, welcome. Thank you both for joining us. I think I'll
Thank
start with
you.
you,
Thank
Mr.
you for
James.
having
Mr. James, I'll start with you. If you could just give us our viewers a quick backstory to why we are where we are right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much, my kind sir, for the invitation, and it's always a pleasure, and it's very important to be to bring out the truth and speak to anything that is out there to represent
Mhm.
your institution. So thank you very much for that, and I want to wish every creative. I'm just hoping that they're listening and wish them the very best in this endeavor. So Echo is the Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization for Music Rights, as you indicate. We operate within, as currently 6 territories within the OECS. So we are the duly recognized and authorized uh, copyright management organization administering the rights of our members within the OECS. Before us in the OECS was the English from England PRS, and they relinquished those the territory to Echo. So what got us here? Echo has been operating in St. Kitts and Nevis from since 2013, where we are registered as an external company, but a non-profit organization, because CMOs like ourselves are non-profit, it's not for profit. So we administer those rights, you take off your admin expenses, your running expenses, and everything else goes to the rights owners. And the rights owners are the creatives, not necessarily the performer of the song, but the person who creates the song, creates the lyrics, creates the music, and publishers of music. These are our members. So over in December of 2024, there was a piece of legislation, new legislation passed in St. Kitts and Nevis, which was a CMO regulations to regulate CMOs like ours, right? Collective management organizations. There was a level of consultation prior to that with in particular the IPO, the Intellectual Property Office, Miss Gian Knight. She there was a level of consultation, and the CMO regulations became legislated on the 6th of December 2024. So ECHO received a letter from the IPO through the Attorney General's office. We received a letter indicating, well, rather an instruction, indicating that the new legislation was passed on the 6th, and we received that letter on the 10th, literally 4 days after it became law, indicating that if we are to adhere to all the provisions and all the requirements of the CMO regulations, and if we don't, then we could no longer operate in the territory. So we found that very a bit unkind and unfair. So because we've been operating very well within the organization, within the territory. So through our attorney, we wrote to the Attorney General indicating that we wanted to invoke a transitional period because, and there's proof to it, any legislation, and the government has a responsibility to put legislation and enact legislation to protect their citizens and to protect the interests of the citizenry. But you cannot pass a piece of legislation and with immediate effect mandate that it happens. That's why there's a transitional period, and every person within the legal fraternity would understand why there's a transitional period. So in other jurisdictions where that very CMO regulation became law, like Jamaica, There was a transitional period. They gave them months to ensure that they meet all the requirements and everything. In our case, to cut it short, in our case, we were asked to do it with immediate effect. We wrote to the Attorney General. That letter went to the Office of the Attorney General. I think they got there on about this 20th of February of 2025. To date, we have not yet received an acknowledgement of the letter, or even acknowledgement of the letter, or rather, or even an answer to this letter, a response to the letter. So on the and all the time we've been working with the company's registry to ensure that our everything, all what we will have to present to become compliant and to get our certificate of good standing, a certificate of compliance. So that we received that yesterday, indicating that we are fully compliant for all this year 23, 24, 25, up to 2nd of June 2025. So, and it's a process. So we've been working on that process. But one of the requirements with the CMO regulations would be that you must be in full compliance with the local laws and all the requirements. So that is what we are working on, making sure that is in compliance and to ensure that we meet all the requirements. But we've been waiting on a response since from the Attorney General. It is courteous, it is proper, it is respectful, it is professional that you respond. Somebody write to you, a company write to you, you respond. We have not yet received. So on the 27th of May, we received a letter. I received a letter to me from the Attorney General on about 1:30 there about p.m., indicating that we have been banned from operations within St. Kitts and Nevis, and yep, be guided accordingly, and because we failed to fill the requirements and all that. So by the time I received that letter, what had accompanied that letter was a press release that went maybe before. I don't know if the press release went further than the letter I received, but I received the letter and I received the press release simultaneously. The press release went all over. It was all over. I got calls all over the OECS and everything. So, which means we were saying that it was not done in good faith. The Attorney General has his role to play. He has his business to do. We're not going to in any way. We're not going to in any way impede his work, what he has to do. But in his professional capacity, we have to communicate because he is the principal legal advisor to the government, and we have membership, and not just the 83 members that we have in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have, through reciprocals agreement, the rest of the world. So we administer the rights of the creatives, not just the local creatives, but all the rest of the creatives across the world with whom we have reciprocal agreements. So this is where we're at. So now we give a press release, and we responded by way of a press release highlighting the facts of the matter. We also filed for an interim injunction to suspend the regulations as we go through a resolve, really. So the judge, we went to court yesterday. As soon as we filed, we went to court yesterday, and the judge thought it necessary that the two parties go and discuss to see that we are now in compliance with the registry of the business registry, and as such, we now have all what we need to file or to present to the IPO's office for that recognition for us to do.
So to be clear, the legislation that was passed, the ECHO had some concern. Well, first of all, you had some requirements to meet. So you
Yeah,
had to
concern.
get some time to meet those requirements, and you also had, from what I
Immediately
understand,
yes.
you also had some issues with the legislation that you wanted clarified as well, but you hadn't gotten a response on that.
But because on the 10th of December, the instruction from the Attorney General was with immediate effect. We cannot do it if we don't meet those requirements. With immediate effect, 4 days after it became law. That, my kind sir, is very unreasonable. In any event, we did indicate by way of our letter that has never been responded to or even acknowledged. That don't speak well for good relations. That don't speak well for professional approaches. I don't think it does.
And did your office have any issues prior to this incident with the Attorney General's office or with the Ministry of Legal Affairs?
No, 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 no. We've not had issues. What I could tell you, the landscape in St. Kitts and Nevis is very challenging. And if you would equate the challenges that we have with issues, then I could put it that way because we have challenges with infringement. St. Kitts and Nevis, albeit it is a law-abiding country, because St. Kitts and Nevis is not lawless. We have laws governing. We have a Copyright Act that clearly outlines the use of copyrighted music in public. Clear. And that is why you have a CMO. Outside of a CMO, it simply means that every broadcaster, every user of music in public must get the express permission from each individual creator, everybody who has created the music. That is an impossible task. That's why you have a CMO. But the Copyright Act in St. Kitts, it's clear, as I said. It says you shall obtain the permission. You must get a copyright license to be able to broadcast, rebroadcast, and to do all the necessary. It's right there. We've had that issue to the extent, and I could say where we may have had some issue with the or challenge really with the legal affairs. It was where I think instructions were given to the office of the Commissioner of Police or the Deputy Commissioner of Police, where because the police of the police force was actually working in sync with with Ecco and making sure that everything is done in accordance with the law. Where the for you to obtain a loudspeaker permit, I think St. Lucia says loudspeaker. In some jurisdictions, they say amplified music speaker. That is for you to have an event in public, a mass crowd event. The police would give you that you go through the application, and the police would give it to you. So the police would ensure that you meet all the requirements. That happens in St. Lucia. It happens in all the jurisdictions, and it makes for good relationship between all agencies. So if you're going on the beach, you need to get your license from the lifeguards and well, whichever license is. But one of the licenses would be that you get the Echo license, which is the copyright to play the right to play intellectual copyrighted music in public. The police was instructed to, you cannot do that. This is illegal. You cannot do it. And we're hearing that Echo is a private company and they're supposed to administer the rights and do all what they have to do. All that we think is against the creatives, because the creatives have a right. It is, you are infringing on the right when you play music, you broadcast music, and you don't get the right, you don't get the permission. So which means that was a little issue we had. But outside of that, we have presented our financials, we have presented our annual reports and all what that is needed with for us to be fully compliant in St. Kitts and Nevis. But the
Now,
challenges continue.
before we get to the requirements, which of course was prescribed by the legislation that was recently passed, and maybe I could get you here to comment on this, Grace. What existed before? Because to the best of my knowledge, ECHO has been performing its duties in St. Kitts and Nevis for the past few years, a couple of years at least, and have been collecting on behalf of its membership without any restrictions. In fact, you've had the cooperation of the police when the police is issuing the permits for you to have events that you have to get an ECHO license. What has changed between then and now?
That is a very good question because if we are following the law, nothing was supposed to have changed. The law is clear. if you want to use music in public, you have to, in or for the public, you have to acquire a license. It's clear. We had a delegation from Echo. Mr. James was in a part of that delegation that came to St. Kitts and Nevis in 2018, and we visited the commissioner of police at that time. That would have been Mr. Queely, and we spoke to him. I think the IP registrar was also there, and we spoke with him, and also the deputy at that time was Mr. Brandy, and we spoke with them, and he understood clearly what the law was. And so what happened after that point in time was that the police was supposed to um, meet again with the IP registrar, which they did, and we were at that meeting to talk to the top persons in the force and explain to them what the law was, and then after that, train the rank and file. Shortly after that, Mr. Queely was, I think he was made an ambassador, and
Okay.
then Mr. Brandy took over, and then nothing happened after that point in time. Um, in terms of continuity, you have to realize that we have been functioning over different administrations. So, under the administration that was headed by Timothy Harris, we were then engaged again with the persons who were in charge of MOENT, and then we attended the opening ceremony. We were featured in the open ceremony, even in their presentation. And then after that, we had consultations with the permanent secretary with the view of putting together a series of workshops that the public would benefit from for free to educate the public. One of those workshops came on and that came off, and that was it. There was no more after that. And then there was a change in administration, and now we have this administration. Um, I know that in our consultations with the AG before, in September 2022, and also in the public press conference that was held in October of that year to sensitize the public towards Ecco and helping Ecco to function properly. I know that one of the things that was said, and I think there's the video on YouTube would support this, that the Ministry of um, creative economy would play a role in partnering with Echo to let the public know more about copyright and respect for music in particular. Um, and then we have always been cooperating with the IP office. I even have gone out on sessions that they have had to add my bit about music rights. Um, so I would think that um, nothing really should have changed. That is my view, because
Mhm.
I have been out there trying to get the public to understand exactly what these rights are about, and not only the rights of music, people who do music, because I'm not only a person who does music, I am also a writer, an author, right? So it's a matter of educating people about all the rights of all the creatives, which are supported by our Copyright Act. And now we have signed on to all of those world treaties. So it's even more crucial because we are supposed to be looking after everybody who is a creative, local or foreign. So I don't have an answer, a complete answer to
Well,
why things have changed.
All right. But if you could just give us, Mr. Jane, maybe you could speak to this, or whichever the two of you, on what are the requirements? No. What are you required to do? No, based on the regulations, which, from what you indicated, Mr. James, you are in a position now to comply.
yes. Well, like I was telling you, I think the the main aspects of what we are supposed to do is to ensure that our we are very transparent, and that we've been overly transparent. At the end of the day, if anybody would go to www.eccorigHTS.org, they would see all of our financials and all of our annual reports and all legislative documents that is required to be presented to the public. It is right there because we are a non-profit and we are mandated to provide that. So the requirements would be the financials. We have to ensure that we are legally sound within the organization, within the state to operate, and that legality would come by way of us under the registration of a CMO. I'm not a CMO, sorry. A non-profit organization, and to ensure that all of our the registration the requirements for that registration is intact. So legally, all the laws of the land, and we've met all that. So the requirements are basically the same as ensuring that you have transparency, you have like I told you, the financials, the legal stuff, and reports. So we have our annual report that speaks to that. So it's really nothing different from that of the um, the registry of companies, and so we have absolutely no issues with it. We had some issues with the legislation itself, which we wrote by way of our letter, and we would want to discuss it and have some sort of level of discourse. And we did indicate that we would not be we would definitely go to the full extent and go to the end to the court, because sometimes when moral suasion and that cannot happen, then you use the facilities of the court, which would give you a judgment in that regard. And this is where we're at. This is why we ask for the interim injunction. It was refused. I think the judge is saying in good faith, really, just go and try to pull your applications, put your application through, and let's see what happens. But the judge also indicated that because we wrote for a judicial review, and the judge is saying that on the June of 24th of June, they will hear our argument. So it is right there. So we don't want to waste time. Let us try and again and put it, because there's a lot of dust in the air right now. Not just the sub-African dust, but there's a lot of dust and on the things that are not clear with copyright and all that. When that clears down, when it clears out, then we have to deal with the creatives, and we have to deal with the reality that a lot of the very government broadcasters and government institutions are not complying to the very law that the government has passed. We have to deal with that. Do we? How do we treat with that? We have to treat with that. Then again, with the judge is saying that I think in good judgment to really go put your application through and let us deal with it. There's a major variable, and this variable is we have. I don't think we have many natural resources in St. Kitts. Forgive me if I'm not, but I know St. Kitts is huge on tourism. Tourism is the main economy. Am I correct? Right?
Yes,
Economy.
that's correct. Yes.
So I dare and I challenge anyone to show me the tourism product devoid of the creative aspect of it, the music and what that comes with it, the heritage and all that. I dare any one of them and tell me if you are going to succeed. It's an impossibility to succeed. You cannot succeed with it. So that is why it's very important. So I was saying when all the dust is cleared, we will now have to treat. We are, and if I'm certainly sure by Monday, well, Monday is a holiday in St. Lucia. I'm not sure if it is up in
Yeah, it
St.
is a
Kitts
holiday
again,
here as well.
right? So by Tuesday, every single piece of document and requirement that is needed for the CMO regulations, we are going to do it. But we are going to continue our position of we need judicial review of it. So let us hear what how it goes, the arguments, and let us go.
Right.
But there's a major thing just before you continue. There was actually the tone. It's okay to say, I need you to be compliant, I need you to be transparent, I need you to do that. The tone within which you say it could send a different signal. So the tone of the press release, the tone and posture of the authorities really don't speak of respect for the creative sector. In as much as it is portrayed as, hey, we want transparency, we want all that, fair enough. I'm not going to argue that. But the tone does not speak to a creative sector we want to see grow. And it is very important that the creatives probably take it in that way. Yeah.
Right. So where we stand right now is that the matter is still in court, but you will be ready at least by next week to have all the documentation required submitted to the relevant authorities.
Yeah, probably this afternoon. Probably this afternoon.
Okay.
Because the only aspect we were missing, my kind sir, was the certificate of compliance from the registry. That's all. And had we submitted it without that, it would not be accepted because it would mean that we are not legit or we are not in full compliance. And you know these things don't happen overnight. It's a process. So the process has been going on. So that's why we found it very sad and unfortunate that a press release would come with that kind of tone and that kind of parameter, kind of like, just demonizing Echo and demonizing the creatives that
Yeah.
represent the creatives. Yeah.
In the interim, though, if we are to go by what the press release indicated from the original press release from the from the AG's office, it is
Which
that
press
Echo
release?
cannot, the one that was issued indicating that Echo is not authorized to perform in the federation. Is it that you cannot work, that you cannot collect on behalf of creatives at this time until this matter is resolved?
What I will tell you is, so if I don't want to say that we cannot operate. I will tell you what the situation is. We are in full. We got our certificate of compliance. That is what it was. But from the 4th of the 6th of December, there's a new legislation that that goes in sync with and it's separate and apart though, but it goes in sync with the legislative. Um, we being legal or compliant rather. That's the terminology. Compliant with the registry of companies. So as it stands, Echo, we have not yet received, according to the legislation in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have not yet received a, we are not in full compliance with, and I'm speaking just with the framework, right? We are not in full
Mhm.
compliance with the CMO regulations, which is the same CMO regulations that just came into effect. And we've been operating throughout, clearly, but the same CMO regulations. So as it stands, according to what that is portrayed, we are not compliant. Herein lies the issue.
Right.
For any activity to take place in St. Kitts and Nevis, and that includes any festival, anything, the government or the promoter of this event would have to go to each and every individual creator to get the permission. Because if Echo cannot give you that permission, you cannot get the permission and you will be infringing on their rights. And we have an obligation to inform our societies, our international agencies, and we've not been, because at the end of the day, it has major implications. We've not been doing that because I mean, it's not it appears like it's a fight. We are stakeholders in an ecosystem. We are stakeholders in the whole thing. So it appears, confrontational. No, it shouldn't be because we are all in the same space. And that's why I was saying the tone of the press release and the posture of the office of the AG should not be one that breeds antagonism and it's like, you just cannot do it and it shouldn't be because you have a responsibility to the creatives.
Let me get this clear then. Let me get this clear. So we have a major festival coming up this month, the St. Kitts Music Festival. If this matter is not resolved legally by that time, and Echo is unable to perform its duties the way you would normally do, are you then going to resort to reporting to your other the international collective societies to say, well, look, this is the situation. The promoter of, in this case, the music festival committee would have to seek permission from each and in every individual that's going to be performing, or music that's going to be used there individually. And as such, you would have to then inform the societies that that's the case because you can't perform your duties on behalf of the creatives.
Well, that's very interesting to see how it's going to turn out and how it's going to play out. But Echo, being a non-profit and being a member of CSAC, we have an obligation to report our challenges and what happens. Sometimes you don't want to go. You could just give like a summary of the challenges as opposed to going to in depth and what have you, the intricacies. But if it negates and not negates, sorry, if it needs be that we speak to the intricacies, then we speak to the intricacies. But we are obligated, so by way of our treaties and by way of it, to ensure that we inform them because we have a mandate to administer the rights of the creatives. The creatives are not solely members or creatives from St. Kitts and Nevis. It's Rihanna, it's from Japan, it's from South Korea, it is from the US, it is from all over England. And most times, my kind sir, when you go to the events, you listen to the music, you do not get a sense that 100% of the songs played there are local. I'm certainly sure you would agree with that. So more percentage of foreign music is played. So naturally, whatever little you collect, whatever you collect, it goes out to the foreign societies as opposed to staying with the local creatives. So the Attorney General and no, sorry, let me retract that. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis would have to indicate to its creatives and whoever they get the rights from how they would go about to license the thing, and they do not have the right to license. They do not
Yeah.
have the right.
Well, I want to pick up on that, but before I do, Grace, I want to get your view here, and forgive me for sounding like a broken record, but I just want to make sure I have this clear and that our viewers have this clear. As it stands, if a local promoter right now is putting on an event, or anybody for that matter, where music is going to be performed publicly, do they still need to get an Echo license if the AG's office is saying Echo is not authorized to perform unless they are in compliance with the legislation?
Okay, I'm going to answer that in a similar way to Mr. James, because you have to realize that a CMO is given the authority by the exclusive rights holder. The exclusive rights holder is the first rights holder, right? And if we cannot do that, then the person who is putting on the event or having the show has to, under the Copyright Act Section 7, contact the exclusive rights holder, which is the creator. That's the simple answer to that.
And if they don't, then they're infringing on the law.
And they don't, they're committing an offense. It's the copyright law, the Copyright Act is clear. The, if you can't get it from a person representing you, you have to get it from the person themselves. It's clear. And that is why CMOs exist, to save you the problem of having to go to each and every single creator of a work to get the permission. And the thing is this, if there are four people who create a work and one person says, no, I don't want you to use it, then nobody can use it.
You
So
that's
therefore, you have to
it.
be very careful when you're using works.
Yeah.
And
Mr.
suppose
James,
That,
suppose
that
suppose
probably,
it's a work.
yeah, go
sorry,
ahead. Sorry.
I said
Oh,
that
okay.
probably don't answer your question, but it actually creates a perspective, the reality of what the situation is.
All right. All right. Before we wrap up, Mr. James, you said something which is quite instructive. From time to time, and I would love to get Echo to respond to this because we hear some creatives and some people saying, well, I'm registered with Echo here in St. Kitts Nevis. I've never gotten a dime from them. And then you'll probably hear some in in the fraternity saying, well, they don't know who Echo is collecting the money for because creatives are saying they're not getting any money from Echo. How do you respond to that when persons say, I'm registered, I'm a member of Echo, I've never received a dime for all the years I've been a part of them?
Okay. Um, okay. Permit me to just try and bring some clarity. I know, kind of, because you have to, there's a lot we could speak of. So first off, there's a particular narrative that is portrayed of the institution that is not totally accurate. It's not totally accurate. So the way distribution and royalties work, you join a CMO. The CMO administers the rights by licensing the public use of your music. And by licensing, there's a tariff that is applied to an application to your event. That tariff would determine in the long and short is it is for live events it is 5% grace, 5% of the gross receipts. Yep. So 5% plus the taxes, whichever taxes the government has, would be that is the royalty that is generated. Echo extracts its admin costs, and all the rest of that money goes to every song or every part of a song that is played at the event. So this is how royalty works. That's just the basic way. So when we license, we collect the money, the licensing, the cost, guided by the tariff, and then two, we collect the data, and the data is every song playlist from the DJs and the set list if it's a live performance, the songs that are performed. That then you pay out at royalty. And when you pay out your royalties, you match the songs with the money, and then you pay it out. So we have some members. Okay, before I go to the members, even though your song plays as we speak, sir, not one broadcaster, not one cable provider, not one TV station or radio station is licensed in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have indicated that to our associates, but there's still a challenge. Not one. That is a major infringement because the external societies have indicated to us that they are monitoring because everything is digital now. They are monitoring and they are hearing the music and they are not getting paid simply because there's no collection. No collection. You cannot pay out something you've not collected. So in recent past, I think the St. Kitts Music Festival have not paid. They've not gotten a license, not for last year, and it looks like this year they want to go without getting a license. That is an unfortunate position to try and be in. It will not work well for the creatives, not for whoever that is coming on. It will not work well. So they need to get a license and the permit. So for our creatives, we encourage them to register the songs. Even though your song is released and it's playing and what have you, it's not registered properly, it will not come up on our database. Then, if you perform and you refuse to provide the data to Echo, you will not be able to get a royalty. Three, if the where you perform is not licensed, no money is collected, even though we get the data, you'll not be able to pay out a royalty. So there's a major narrative that needs to be amended and changed for persons to start receiving proper royalties. But we have members in St. Kitts and Nevis that have been receiving good royalties over the years. Those persons that keep putting in the work. Because if you do one song, I mean, you have a popular song. That popular song you have now may not be popular down the road. Or you do a song now and it may become popular a little later. So that's why you have to ensure your data is good, everything is proper. So what I want to encourage the members, do not listen to the naysayers. When we have meetings, come and hear for yourself how much money we've collected from St. Kitts and ensure they need to lobby, stick together, and speak to the government and say, here's what. The orange economy is a major contributor to the economic position of the country. So you need to invest more for your creatives, and you need to allow the laws to fall in place for your creatives to be protected. So that is why I was saying, even now, the very creatives, if the government have not indicated how they plan to ensure that they get paid for the use of their works, it's best that we work in tandem and in sync with Echo to try and make things and resolve things. We are playing our part, and it's not a fight. We want to work in sync with and for our creatives. So the members, I mean, St. Kitts, don't just stay by. Come, it is a non-profit. We don't make profit at Echo. So if no money is collected, you will not be able to get paid. So how you ensure that money is collected? We are legit. We are going through that little transitional shaky period. Ensure that you register your songs. Ensure that you create good content, and ensure you understand the business, that it is registered in the right places for the right purpose. And again, if you do a song for that will not hit mainstream. You do a song in particular just to meet a particular demographic. It's highly likely it may not go past that demographic. So you need to be mindful. It's a business. It's a business. And now we have AI. We have to regulate the use of AI in people's creativity. In St. Kitts and Nevis, I do not think there is a data mining legislation. They have so many, even broadcast policy. You know, it might speak to what songs that are played, but you need broadcasters and all that. How could you be every year you getting your permits and you getting everything, but you refuse to take a critical part, which is the music license, to ensure that you play it. And you're not only broadcasting the local music, you are broadcasting international and foreign music, of which Echo has reciprocal agreements and is obligated and mandated to administer the rights for the members. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I went.
So to be clear, if a local a performer, a composer, someone who is registered with Echo performs at a licensed Echo event, and they perform at their songs or whatever, and they provide data to Echo to support that they did indeed perform these songs, they're entitled to royalties. That's what you're saying.
Right, and the way it works, you that data that you collect, we would now, because against let's use it. The when we receive monies from the St. Kitts Music Festival, we pay the after you take off, you extract, you pay the monies in the royalties, you pay it against the St. Kitts Music Festival. Right,
Right.
that's how you pay.
Has any in recent times has any member done what you've outlined and actually received royalties,
Oh
or was it done
yes.
in the past?
Yeah, we have members who are doing it right now. We've been trying to reach a couple of members because we have a distribution happening at the end of June, and we
Okay.
have picked up a couple of songs from some of the members, and we are literally begging them to come and register. Why should I be begging you to come and ensure that you get? And monies, we are seeing it. It's there. So the members need to take the practitioners and
So is
those.
it a case where you collect also on behalf, or you collect? These songs are registered. The songs are registered, or how does it work?
Okay,
Because
so
is it a
when you
case
pick
where
up,
a
you
composer
pick up the
could, we
song.
do a song and then they register afterwards and get benefits from that?
Okay, so during as we are doing the distribution, you collect logs. So in St. Kitts and Nevis, the unfortunate thing is we have to take logs from unlicensed radio stations and broadcasters. That is that's a serious anomaly. But in order for any creative in St. Kitts and Nevis to receive a royalty, we have to imagine we have to do that. And we are paying thousands of dollars to a system to monitor the digital monitoring of all the broadcasters in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it's a diminishing return scenario. So, which means we are paying to monitor and we have to use some data. If not, we will not be able to administer the rights. Not administer the right, we will not be able to pay a royalty. But when it relates to the live events, we pay against the live events. We pay royalty against the live events. But for the general use, we use data from the radio stations and it's used a sample of the data. So imagine if you get $10,000 from a particular radio station, you take over the year, and it's annual, right? You take 1 week a year, 1 week a month, and then you use, because you have to use a sample as mandated, and as what? Then you have $10,000. But when you don't get, you get zero. We now have to come up with a creative way of giving back to the creatives in St. Kitts and Nevis, because at the end of the day, it would almost feel useless. However creative are not getting, and that is what that sparks some of the discussion that you heard. Boy, I get nothing from Echo, I'm not getting anything. But guess what? We need everything to fall in line. All the pieces of the puzzle must fall in place for
Mhm.
a successful
And you pay annually or quarterly? How do you do
as
that?
as we speak, we are doing biannual distributions. So we have a distribution that is happening in an end of June, a couple of days time. We are just trying to finalize, and I will take the opportunity to ask again and plead to the creatives in St. Kitts, please contact the office and register your songs. And we have a second distribution at the end of December, by December, for the period 2024. So we were a bit behind with our
Mhm.
distributions because of a lot of challenges and all that. So we are doing distribution for 2023 in June and distribution for 2024 in December. So we're doing biannually. So by then we fully up to date with our distributions.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think we've exhausted a number of the discussions here, and of course, we'll continue to monitor what's happening from the legal front. But I'll give you both the opportunity for the last words. Grace, will start with you, and then Mr. James.
I'd just like to say that throughout all of this, I realized that since I've been working as the agent from 2016 until now, and been talking to people and trying to educate them, a lot of persons one on one, I find now that we're going through this period here, I find a lot of persons are coming to me and they actually have an understanding of what is happening, and they are interested to find out what will happen because they are now realizing that this is very important to help creatives and to help a creative industry. You are looking at a fact that if you don't help creatives, you are cutting the country off of a source of income that's coming from outside of the country. um, Meaning royalties. When people go and perform abroad and they come back home, the royalties will follow them home because events out there where they perform are licensed, especially in the USA and over in Europe. And those people eventually will report to Echo on what the works that were performed. And if our members have these works registered with us, then they're going to get that. And the country is going to benefit because the money is coming in. And I'm not only speaking on behalf of people in music. Anybody who is a creative who can get a royalty and they perform outside of the federation and their works are performed outside of the federation, the federation stands to benefit from an inflow of money rather than an outflow. And that is something that we should look at. And another thing that we need to touch on, but we don't have the time here, is we should have probably mentioned the YouTube situation, but that can be another conversation.
All right. Okay, Mr.
Okay.
James.
Okay, well. First off, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I think this might very well be the first of many of opportunities to actually speak to some of the issues and to let persons understand what Echo is about and why we are about. So, if I may just touch quickly on the YouTube scenario. Right now, you have YouTube is a big player. If you want to hear a song, you want to see songs, first platform persons go on is YouTube. As it stands, YouTube do not have a license with Echo. YouTube do not have a license or a clearance within our space, within our territories. YouTube has indicated quite eloquently that they only want to do business with Jamaica. And we'll probably understand why Jamaica has a huge repertoire and the likes of it. So YouTube, as a big player, has indicated that. So what does that say for the creatives in St. Kitts and Nevis. It simply means that you cannot monetize your dollar, you cannot monetize your works, you cannot monetize your account with YouTube. And that is very unfortunate because the majority of our creatives use YouTube as a platform, users and creatives as well. So we want to change that narrative, and we actually we are, through Access, we have a regional umbrella body that includes Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, and Echo, or the entire OECS. We are in right now in negotiation with YouTube to change that status quo. So at least now, persons within our territories can monetize their account. There are many other aspects we could discuss, but I just want to say, as it pertains to the current situation in St. Kitts and Nevis, what we're basically saying, the posture and the tone of the conversation that we are having with our authorities should not come to that, because we have not had any issues. Jan in particular is a champion. I know she's where she's sitting, she may not speak to that now, but we have utmost respect for Jan. I'll tell you why. Because she was a key factor in getting us, organized, and getting the creatives in St. Kitts and Nevis understanding what intellectual property is about. And I want to commend her on that. I'm not too happy with the position that we have now, but I really want to commend her. And again, so I want to say that the creatives, we have a creative sector that is extremely talented, extremely, we're very great in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it is sad that you would hear that tone and show no, it's just unfortunate that, what are you saying to the creatives? The creative sector is a major aspect. What are you saying? So we would like for a different posture to be presented. On our part, we are committed to the rule of law. We remain committed to ensuring that everything is done above board and very transparent, and that we will do. So as soon as possible, we will be sending our application, and we are hoping that in the best interest of good governance and good faith and good spirit, that our application will be accepted very long before, and that the government who's responsible for the for the festival would ensure that they obtain a license. And two, it would set the tone and the example for other promoters, because I could guarantee you the major the headliner and those persons on the festival, if you go through their contracts, it will indicate that the show where they're performing must be licensed. And that is a fact, and our local creators have to understand that as well. Take your business serious, and as long as you could see that there's hope, we are there. Echo remains committed to the protection of the rights of our creators and of our members. And until such time we are not so tasked, then we will continue to do it within a legal parameter, being having very good conversation and everything. And at this point, sir, I think it is prudent that we as a body, and the extension by extension, the membership, have a meeting with, as in particular, the Prime Minister. I think it is right that we speak to the Minister of Creative Industries and the Prime Minister, so we could outline how best we could go forward. Because it's not a fight. We are all in this ecosystem and this ecosystem. We are all in this as stakeholders in the best interest of of the country. So I want to thank you very much, and we are always pleased with Grace. Her name says it all. She has grace, So we are very pleased, and we look forward to the resolve, amicable resolve of the situation in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's not a fight, but let us do it right.
All right. Well, Mr. James and Mr. Richardson, thank you both for being on to explain to our viewers and to explain to the public the situation. And we'll continue to monitor to see what happens over the next few days. Thank you
And
again.
please feel free to reach out. Let's
Yes.
do a series of those. A series of
Yes, certainly. Thank you.